Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, September 2nd, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. If you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, September 2nd. First up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates with Johan Oviedo for Pittsburgh and Alek Manoah for the Blue Jays. Now, I can expect Oviedo to go about 2 to 5 innings in this game. We've only seen him go more than 3 innings one time this season. That was his first outing of the year, and that was against the Chicago Cubs back on June 4th. And he's pitched all 14 outings this season with the St. Louis Cardinals, mostly out of the bullpen and mostly in about an inning to 2 innings at the most. He's at a 3.2 ERA, but I don't really love him as a starting pitcher in this one, and I don't really like the Pirates bullpen behind him. So I do think the Blue Jays offense will show up in a big way in this one. While on the other side, Alek Manoah coming off a strong start against the Los Angeles Angels. He didn't get the win in that game. His bats didn't back him up, but he went 7 innings, 1 earned run, and 8 strikeouts. Back-to-back good starts for Manoah as his last 13 innings, earning 16 strikeouts and only giving up 2 earned runs with no home runs allowed in that stretch. I think Manoah and the Blue Jays win this one big, so I'll lay the 1.5 runs here with Toronto. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Cincinnati Reds. No official lineup for this game, but we should see Kyle Freeland and Luis Cessa on the mound for this game. And, Luis Cessa, I haven't really loved seeing him as an opener or starter. In his first 6 innings as an opener, he's given up 3 earned runs and 3 home runs, only 4 strikeouts in that stretch. And I do think he is in trouble here against the Rockies. Even though the Rockies offense hasn't been great on the road this season, we saw them compete in that Braves series. We saw them even compete later on in that New York Mets series on the road. So even though they've been away from home for quite some time, I still think they compete in this game. And I think Kyle Freeland's road numbers, they've been really strong this year. He hasn't pitched well at Coors Field like most Coors Field pitchers do, but when you look at his road ERA at 3.62 through about 70 innings of work, his strikeout rate is much better on the road, giving up far fewer home runs. His opponent's batting average is much better. So I think Freeland pitches well. I think the Rockies have the better lineup here. So give me the Colorado Rockies on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. No official starter for the Rays quite yet. We should see Domingo Germán for the Yankees. And Germán's expected numbers aren't the greatest right now, an xFIP above 4, despite the 3.19 ERA. I do like the way the Rays are playing, and we know they step it up against this Yankees team, one of the bigger rivalries in the American League. And I do think that the Rays, they played very well in that series. The last time they saw the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, they took 2 of 3. And overall, this Yankees team just hasn't been the same since the All-Star break. I think the Rays are one of the hotter teams in baseball. They're about 19 games above 500 at home this year. Yankees only 2 games above 500 on the road, struggling away from home quite a bit. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Rays here as the favorite on the money line. In our next game, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Oakland Athletics with J.P. Sears and Dean Kremer on the mound. Now, similar to Domingo Germán, Dean Kremer, another starting pitcher with a good ERA, right now at 3.24. However, the xFIP and expected ERA aren't the greatest. The xFIP above 4 right now, and I do think the Oakland A's have shown some promise offensively in the past couple weeks. I think they'll be able to get to Kremer for a few runs. But on the other side, I like the Orioles offense quite a bit as well. When you look at the Orioles in the last month, they're number 7 in team OPS and number 4 in isolated power against left-handed pitching. Pretty low strikeout rate as well. The walk rate is second highest at 12.5% as a team. So I think they can get to Sears. I do think he's another starting pitcher that's going to regress quite a bit as the season continues. And we already saw that in his last start against the Yankees, where he gave up a home run. He gave up 4 walks, 8 base hits, 3 earned runs in an Oakland A's loss. So give me the Orioles on the run line, but I'm going to take the over as well in this one. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Detroit Tigers with Daniel Lynch and Drew Hutchison on the mound for this one. And Drew Hutchison, another starting pitcher that I think has some regression worries in his game. He doesn't strike out a lot of batters. Even in his last start, he's given up some home runs now, which we haven't been really used to seeing that from him. But 2 homers and against the Rangers, and although his offense backed him up in that game, I don't think that's going to be the case here. We know the Tigers' offense, one of the weaker offenses in baseball, and they're struggling with runners in scoring position. They had a great chance on Wednesday to get some runs on a lefty starter, Marco Gonzalez, and although they got a ton of guys on base, they just struggled yet again with runners in scoring position. A team that strikes out quite a bit, grounds into double plays very often. So I do think that Daniel Lynch, even though he's not my favorite starting pitcher to back, I think he'll have a decent outing here, and I think his offense is going to back him up in a big way. So give me the Kansas City Royals. They're actually the underdogs in this game. I'll take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Luis Castillo and Zach Plesac are the projected starters, and we saw the same exact pitching matchup back on August 27th. Now, Plesac and the Guardians won that game. However, it was not because of Plesac and Castillo. The bullpens really decided that one, and Plesac actually gave up 3 home runs in that game, while Castillo went 6 innings of 1-run ball with 10 strikeouts. So Castillo was the better starting pitcher. The Guardians' bullpen was there for him late, and the offense, they found some runs late as well. But I do think the Mariners win this game. I think they're favorites for a reason. I just think Luis Castillo has looked really good with the Mariners this season. He's had one rough start against the Oakland A's, but other than that, he's faced some tough lineups. He pitched well against these Guardians, and it is very, very difficult to strike out the Guardians, especially 10 times through 6 innings of work. Very impressive stuff there from Castillo. I think he pitches well here. And when you give up 3 home runs to a team, like Plesac did to the Mariners last time out, he's given up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5. I don't love those numbers, even though he had the strikeouts in that game. Give me the Seattle Mariners on the money line for this one. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Boston Red Sox with Dallas Keuchel and Nick Pivetta as the projected starters. Now, a couple weeks ago, I wore my Chicago White Sox jersey on the rundown. A couple people were asking, and I wonder who's on the back of that jersey. Could it be Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez? Maybe it was one of the White Sox greats like Frank Thomas. However, I am here to let you know that it was actually my main man, Dallas Keuchel. He's got a special place in my heart. He's made me a lot of coin over the years, similar to Zach Greinke in the past few seasons. And I do think that I don't think he's a viable starting pitcher right now. I do think the Red Sox will be able to get to Keuchel in this game. We saw him struggle mightily in his first start with his new team against the Detroit Tigers. He went 5 1/3, giving up 11 base hits and 7 earned runs. And although the Red Sox offense against lefties hasn't been the best, still is pretty darn good in the last 30 days. Top 10 in team OPS. Isolated power numbers not as strong, but I still think they'll be able to get to Keuchel here. Give me the over and the Red Sox on the run line. In our next game, we see your Apple TV game, a 7:20 Eastern start time between the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves. No official lineup for this game quite yet, but we should see Sandy Alcantara and Charlie Morton on the mound. There could be a scratch there, but this is a pretty good pitching matchup in my opinion. Even though Morton has had some issues with the home run ball, his ERA is above 4, I still think he's a solid starting pitcher, and I do like him in this spot against the Marlins offense that's ranked 24th in isolated power and dead last in team OPS in the last month against right-handed pitching. Charlie Morton's able to strike out some batters. The Marlins have had issues as a team with the strikeouts, and I do think Morton has a good start here. Sandy Alcantara is obviously having a fantastic season for the Marlins, but his second half not as strong as his first half. Now, he is coming off a gem in his last outing against the Dodgers. He went a complete game, 1 earned run, and 10 strikeouts, but I still think Atlanta has the better offense here, and if the Marlins aren't scoring runs, which they really haven't in the past 2 months or so, I do think it's going to be tough for them to win this game on the road, especially. Give me the Atlanta Braves here on the money line. Next up, we see a big AL Central matchup between the Minnesota Twins and the Chicago White Sox. This is a huge series between two teams that are right now on the outside looking in the American League playoff race, but they're not done yet. Right now, ESPN gives the Twins about a 41% chance to make the playoffs, while the White Sox have just a little bit under 10% chance. So a little bit of a long shot there for the White Sox as they're in third place right now in the division by a few games. But, still, this is a huge series. If the White Sox are able to win the series or maybe even sweep it, their chances go way up. But in game one, I just don't love their chances. I think the Twins win this one. Sonny Gray pitching well this year with his new team, a 3.04 ERA overall. Solid numbers on the road, a little bit higher ERA at 3.15, but nothing too bad, nothing too crazy there. And his last start, 5 innings, 1 earned run against the Giants. He did have 4 walks allowed, but 4 strikeouts as well, and he's pitching well in his last 5 outings. Doesn't go too deep into ball games anymore, but this Twins bullpen, in my opinion, has been improved, especially their 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys, the guys that they need when they're up a few runs late, the guys that they can count on for a hold or a save. So I do like the Twins in this game to be able to also get to Davis Martin, who is not a starting pitcher that I'm looking to back right now. His strikeout rate not great, 28 Ks in 39 innings of work this season. His last start against the Diamondbacks, he went 3 innings, giving up 5 total runs. 3 of those were earned, 4 walks allowed, and only 2 strikeouts earned. I just don't love his chances against the Twins lineup that's starting to heat up. Give me the Minnesota Twins in Game 1 of this all-important AL Central Series. The Chicago Cubs are taking on the St. Louis Cardinals with Jordan Montgomery and Adrian Sampson as the projected starters. Jordan Montgomery has been great with his new team. Now, he did struggle in his last start, but that was against the Atlanta Braves, a lineup that crushes left-handed pitching, and the Chicago Cubs just aren't that kind of lineup. When you look at the numbers in the last 30 days, ranked 29th in the league in team OPS, the Cubs are, against left-handed pitching, and 21st in isolated power. The strikeout rate is also in the top 10 for the highest strikeout rates. The walk rate, very, very low right now, also the bottom 5 walk percentage. So I do think Montgomery bounces back here at Busch Stadium with a strong start, but I also think Adrian Sampson has a decent outing here. This is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Sampson's got decent numbers here, especially on the road. He doesn't really pitch well at Wrigley Field, but at home or on the road, 3.25 ERA. Wasn't great against the Cardinals last time you saw him, but that was at Wrigley. I think he's good enough here to get us under the total. I lean towards the Cardinals, but I don't love the price, so give me the under in the Cubs-Cardinals. Next up, we see Reed Detmers and the Los Angeles Angels taking on Lance McCullers Jr. and the Houston Astros. Now, Reed Detmers has been impressive since he was brought back up to the major leagues. He did have one start against the Tigers where he struggled, giving up 10 base hits and 4 earned runs, but really that's the only start where he's given up more than 2 earned runs, and that includes a game against these Houston Astros back on July 14th. That was at home, and it was 6 innings, 2 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. Now, the Angels lost that game in extra innings, but Detmers pitched very well. I just don't love him in this particular outing against an Astros lineup that's just crushed lefties lately. They're number 3 in team OPS, number 3 in isolated power against lefties in the last month. Their strikeout rate, the lowest by far, 14%, which is very, very low. The walk rate's also in the top 10. And we saw Detmers have a little bit of issues with his control lately, giving up 3 walks in 2 of his last 3 starts. So I do think the Astros offense gets to him here, and I think the Angels offense actually can compete in this one as well against McCullers Jr., who's got a 1.69 ERA, but some control issues himself, and his strikeout numbers are a little bit all over the place. His last start, he only had 2 Ks through 5 innings of work, giving up 3 walks and 4 base hits against the Orioles. I think the Angels can make him pay a bit. Their offense has been heating up. It would look good in that Yankees series. So give me the over in this Astros-Angels matchup. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eric Lauer and Mr. Zach Davies on the mound for this one. Now, Zach Davies has actually been pitching pretty well for the D-backs ever since he was brought back up from the IL, but he's kind of been doing it in an unsustainable way. In his last 28 innings, giving up 5 home runs, which is a little bit higher than what we're used to seeing from Davies. He's been giving up at least 2 walks in each of his last 6 starts, Strikeout numbers aren't really there. 18 Ks in 28 innings is not great. So, although he's been getting the job done and winning a good amount of games, he's also been facing a lot of weak lineups. He faced the Rockies twice. He faced the Giants, who have struggled against righties. The Royals are nothing crazy offensively. Even the White Sox, subpar offensively as a team this season. And the only start he faced an above-average offense with the Cleveland Guardians. And in that game, he went 2 innings, giving up 4 earned and 2 home runs. So I don't love his chances here against the Brewers lineup that's been much better against righties, way better against righties than against lefties, as they're in the top 10 in team OPS and isolated power against those righties in the last month, 3rd in isolated power. So the home run ball does concern me here. I think the Brewers will be able to get to him. When you look on the other side, Eric Lauer, kind of a volatile pitcher. He's going to give up the home run ball. We know that. But he's also going to earn a good amount of strikeouts. And the Arizona Diamondbacks against lefties, not the greatest in the last month. 29th in isolated power. And team OPS, not much better. Also ranked 26th in the league. So I think Lauer pitches well. I think the Brewers can get to Davies and the Diamondbacks bullpen. So I'm going to take the Milwaukee Brewers here at a pretty good price on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers with Yu Darvish and Dustin May on the mound. I think it's going to be a close game, a pretty close series. I like the Padres to compete in Game 1. They're winners of 5 of their last 6. They swept the Giants on the road. Their offense started to show up there, and they scored at least 4 runs in each of those 3 games. I think they can find a few runs on Dustin May. Still, I think this is, even though the Padres started out slow after the trade deadline with their big acquisitions, I still think this is one of the more talented teams in the National League on paper. I think they have a very good bullpen. Their lineup, adding in Soto, Bell, and Drury, is only going to get better as Machado's having a career year at the plate. And I think this Padres team competes here. I think Dustin May, he's had 2 starts against the Marlins. He's pitched well in those games, but that's the Miami Marlins. They've struggled offensively really badly against both lefties and righties. So I do think that May's going to have his toughest spot yet. And I think the Padres can keep this one close. Yu Darvish, not my favorite starting pitcher to back, but it's either he's spot on against the Dodgers or he really struggles. This season against LA, he's had plenty of work against them, 18 innings of work, but he's got a 3.5 ERA, not too bad. 22 strikeouts in those innings. Tough to pitch against this Dodgers lineup, so he's doing a pretty good job so far. Give me the San Diego Padres plus the 1.5 runs here on the run line. In our final game of the night, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the San Francisco Giants with Kyle Gibson and Alex Cobb on the mound. Now, Kyle Gibson's pitching really well at Citizens Bank Park this season, but on the road in about 50 innings of work, he owns a 4.7 ERA. I know the Giants' offense hasn't been the greatest against righties in terms of team OPS, but they still are about league average in isolated power. I think they can find a homer or two against Gibson here. On the other side, Alex Cobb, he has struggled mightily away from home this season, a 5.06 road ERA. We got a 2.86 ERA at home in Oracle Park. 63 innings with 71 strikeouts in that stretch. Only 4 home runs allowed with a 224 opponent's batting average. I think this is going to be a Giants lead after the first 5 innings, but I do worry about the Giants bullpen. I think it's one of the weaker bullpens in baseball, so I do think the Phillies have the big advantage there. I'm just going to take the San Francisco Giants on the money line through the first 5 innings and stay away from this Giants bullpen altogether. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday, September 2nd. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.